You've said in the past, I quote, if your business is making £50,000 a month, you can't afford a Eurus. Do you still stand by that?
I don't feel like 50k a month is a huge amount of money.
What's the biggest booking you've ever had?
Royal from Kuwait, he paid £52,000. Profit was 39k for that 1 month.
How quickly do you get to a point where you can be hitting those revenue figures?
At least a year.
How many properties do you have under management? Wow, you're in triple digit.
Yeah.
Welcome back to another episode of the PBK podcast. As always, we are back with a special guest. And today I am joined by the man himself, Dami Property, aka Dami Lifestyle, aka Mr. Make It Happen when it comes to making money. You posting some real big returns when it comes to this Airbnb space.
Yeah. Firstly, thank you for that introduction. It's a pleasure to be here. Yeah, look, Airbnb has been very good to me over the last few years.
Like, I know you like to do the humble, like to try to do the coming white, very clean, understated. But, you know, I've seen some crazy numbers. Like, you know, a lot of people think Airbnb and they think £80 booking a night, you know, £200 a night, a sort of top end. So you're getting maybe a good booking is £1,000.
Yeah.
I've seen you post multiple 5-figure bookings in a space where some commentators talk about, you know, the rent to serviced accommodation model or rent to rent and say maybe it's not that viable, but you've excelled in that space. How have you been able to do that?
I'll say with regards to the people that you say, you know, they've said it's not viable. I think that it's not viable for people that operate sort of in like the mediocre space or people that essentially don't know exactly what they're doing with the model. But if you've got calendar management, you know, if you're targeting luxury properties, if you're doing strategies where you're not necessarily competing with the hotels, it's very viable. And to go back to your point about you've seen large bookings, I've had certain properties where they profited £10,000-15,000 a month just off one property. So for me, that's very viable.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think what's the biggest booking you've ever had?
Biggest booking I've ever had is a Royal from Kuwait. He booked a property for 1 month in Surrey and he paid £52,000. That's the biggest booking I've ever had. So after all expenses, profit was about 39k for that 1 month.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So that's serious. That's, you know, that's flip money.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's flip money. That's BRR money. That's
a
lot of stress, a lot of ownership, putting a lot of your own money in that you're making off one booking. And that's not to say that's the norm, but it's to show you the potential. Correct.
It's not the norm. And one thing that I always do, when you look at service accommodation, you have to look yearly. You know, you can look at bookings that you get in the summer, but think about December, think about January, think about February. So when you annualize that, of course, it's not going to be 39k every month, but there is massive potential to make good money.
And I think that's really important to have the transparency, because the reality is stats can prove anything.
True.
If you were to take your stats from just, for example, April to July and use that as a snapshot versus, you know, September to November, it's a completely different property.
100%. And I think as well, it's like when it comes to winter, you know, if you think you can just put a property on Airbnb and make money, then you're sadly mistaken. You're an amateur. What you need to do is you need to build up different avenues to get your properties booked. It's a hustle. It's not something that's easy. But obviously summer is easier, but winter, that's when we see that. It's when we separate the boys from the men.
And I think that's a common theme in business overall, that, you know, when the market's good, when everything's going good, everyone says they can do the business. Yeah. But it's being able to... The football analogy is, can you perform on a rainy day in Stoke?
That's it.
And I think that's like the equivalent for the... Exactly. So, but let's kind of wind back for those that are not familiar. What does, you know, rent to serviced accommodation actually look like? What does that mean as a business model?
Okay. So as a business model, essentially what it is it's a lower barrier to entry than buying. You can target a developer, a landlord or an agent, and you will essentially look to sign a lease. I'd say the longer the better, maybe 3 years, 5 years, to give you a bit of security, potentially put in a break clause just in case things don't go well. But essentially what you want to do is you want to find a property where you can add value, and whatever you're paying that agent, developer, landlord to rent, you want to be able to rent it out for more on a nightly, weekly, monthly basis. In order to do that, you need to furnish the property well. You need to market the property well. And then you obviously need to have a good cash flow strategy. And when I say cash flow strategy, what I mean is that Airbnb, they can to some extent control your money, because if a guest doesn't like the stay, they can refund, whatever. Booking.com, they pay quite historically late. So let's say you've got a booking in November and it goes till February. Even if that guest checks in November, you do not get paid until February. So if you've got, imagine like you've got 50 properties and everyone's booking through booking.com, but you've still got these monthly rentals. So what I always say is you need a direct booking strategy. So even if someone books in 2027, I still get paid from Stripe in a week. So yeah, that in essence, that's the model.
Okay. And how do you think you get to move away from the platforms that dominate a lot of the market and be able to secure those direct bookings?
It's trust, right? So I always say to like newbies and beginners, you're not going to start getting direct bookings from day one. You know, if someone sees an Airbnb account set up last week, no reviews, if you're trying to get them direct, even me personally, if I went to book on Airbnb, and I'm sure you're the same, and someone said, book direct, you'll be thinking, nah, I've come to Airbnb for a reason.
Like I had a few where I was going skiing and I saw some villas that look good, but they got no reviews, and they're saying, oh yeah, and I'm thinking, but if I get to that mountain and I'm in the snow with my bags and I've turned up at this pin and there's no one there, I'm going to be fuming. So yeah,
100%.
Reputations.
So I would say, yeah, reputation. Once you get probably about 10 good reviews across Airbnb and booking.com, that's when I'll say start implementing a strong direct booking strategy. People will trust it by then.
But what does that look like? Because I think even though if people, like, how do you convert people from looking to book on platforms?
Okay, cool. So I'll give you some examples of how we do it. So in some of our listings, we've got QR codes where if you scan it, you can come directly to one of our direct booking websites. We've got our branding all over the property or potentially over the cushions. In my actual bio, and this is something I've shared with my SA Winner Circle WhatsApp group and people that I train, I actually put my number in the bio. So I say, look, if you want any more information, contact me. So once we're speaking directly, if I'm sending them information on the property, it's very easy to get them direct. Yeah.
Convert the bookings.
Yeah.
But I guess let's kind of take it back and just starting out.
Sure.
What actually made you want to get into that space initially?
To be honest, it wasn't specifically Airbnb. I wanted to get into something that made money, right? And I bought my first property in 2015 or 16. And that was just a normal flat. It's actually a like studio / one bed in Gillingham in Kent. Profit on that was probably £200 a month. So I even forgot about it. I just parked it because it wasn't really interesting money to me. And what actually happened was when I was living in Dubai and I was seeing all these crazy things, 19-year-olds driving Rolls Royces, just you go to Dubai a lot, so you know what the kind of money is like over there. I was thinking, how can I make this kind of money in property? The property that we were in, we listed it on Airbnb and a booking came in for about 25,000 dirham, which is £5,000. At the time, it was about £5,000. And I thought to myself, the margins here on short lets are way higher than buy to let, way higher than like rent to rent HMO. So for me, it was just the highest cash flow strategy. I thought, how can I make this happen?
And when you first went to go and outside of obviously the property that you owned, because you can do what you want with that, you first trying to secure the property from a landlord or a developer.
Yeah.
What hurdles did you face that you had to overcome?
It was a hurdle of rejection, you know, and time. I was trying for 4 straight months to get property before I got my first property. It was no after no, it was rejection, it was nope, it was I'm not sure about the company, you've only just registered, blah, 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 blah. It was just time. I remember the first landlord we secured, I actually sent gifts to her house. It was a lot. The agent said no about 4 times, but I feel like in property, time makes things easier. So for example, now I'm negotiating a few lease options. They've said no about 15 times, but as the property is not sold or as their circumstances have changed, it becomes easier to do the deal. So one thing I always say is don't get too caught up in no today, because no right now is exactly that. It's no right now. In 3 months, 6 months, a year, it might not be no. So no's a part of the game. You just got to keep getting the no's and then the yes will come. But you have to be resilient. You have to stay in the game.
Like personally for you, what allowed you to stay resilient? Because I'm hearing a lot of no's sometimes for people. Just say, you start, you get on Indeeds, you get on, restart looking at
For me, it was just like, the pain of actually having to work a job and earn a 9 to 5 salary. And look, I'm not knocking 9 to 5s. There's some 9 to 5s that pay really well. But an industry that I was working in, IT, tech and recruitment, I wasn't trying to hear what they could pay me on a monthly basis. So for me, the pain of actually being restricted to a job was stronger than the pain of getting a nose. So for me, it was like, I can get 1,000 more no's. I'm still ready to keep going. Nothing can stop me.
What did it feel like when you got that first yes?
Just elation. Yeah. It was
like an accumulation of those 4 months.
Yeah, it was just, for me, it was just like, we're in business now. Like everything, I like to visualize. I like to think at least 5-10 years ahead. So for me, it was just like, right, this is one tick. This is part of the journey. On we march.
And then talk to me about the journey of that first property. So, because I'm sure as much as you must have had that elation of, okay, I've got my first deal.
Yeah.
There's then a crash back down to now I've got to do the work.
Yeah.
What was the process like for that first one?
I got my first property. I was actually living in Dubai. My first property was in the UK. And it was like, okay, cool. I remember my cleaner, she went to the property. I hadn't actually seen it. I'd never actually stepped foot inside the property. And she sent me a video and she said, Dami, look, there's more work that needs to be done here than anticipated. And to be honest, I just charged it to the game. I knew that like it was going to be a hurdle, but I was more excited. My first deal, I always say to people that ROI on my first deal, I never took it too serious because I knew the ROI was going to be what I could document, what I've done. It's going to be my first property. It's going to be the springboard for many more. So even though I had to spend a little bit more on getting it right, I knew that in the long run, it would be worth it. So yeah, we had to change the carpets, the kitchen cabinets, we painted them up, like we did a lot, but in the end, we still got the property till today. So it's good.
That's good. That's good. I think a lot of the time that first deal, of course you want to make money.
Yeah.
You know, no one wants to be at a deficit, but a lot of the profits come from the experience and the knowledge and the confidence that, okay, I can actually make this work, and the mistakes you make
100%.
along the way.
100%.
Are there any, for people that are getting into the industry, mistakes or experiences that you could share that people could learn from?
Yeah, I would say just don't expect to get all your money out in like 2-3 months. If you signed a 3-year deal, it's very normal not to get any profit for the first year. And mistakes are normal. It's how you respond to the mistakes. Like I see a lot of people, they expect to get their money back instantly. And what I always say is that, look, if you invested in the stock market or if you left your money in savings, how would that perform over 3 years? People sometimes have an unrealistic expectation of rent to rent because people will throw out all the big numbers. They'll throw out, oh, I made this, I made that. But people throw out revenue numbers. They're not talking about the rent they had to pay. They're not talking about the maintenance they had to cover. They're not talking about staff that they had to pay out of that money. So I would say just have an actual realistic expectation of what you're looking to make. Because some people say, I want to make £1,000 a month or 2,000. Why not £500? Like you wouldn't throw £500 in a bin. So put some respect on smaller numbers as well, and then build
Definitely,
it up.
Man. I remember my granddad used to always say that, look after the pennies and the pounds look after themselves.
100%.
And it's something I've definitely tried to maintain. I tried to make sure I start doing the direct debit reviews and all these things because you have to.
100%.
So obviously you've got that property now.
Yeah.
You started to work out the process. Where's now your sweet spot? Like what type of properties really work for you and what ones don't?
Okay, cool. It's a great question. So I've done the studios and the 1-beds. I've done the 8-bed, 7-bed mansions. For me, my sweet spot now is 3 to 5 bed properties. That's what I really enjoy because the mansions, there's headaches. Like if you've got swimming pools, tennis courts, party, like it's headaches. If you've got 1-beds, there's a ceiling. 3 to 5 beds, you're not competing with hotels. You can put a lot of beds in there. You can target most demographics, and really and truly the demand for these properties is not as high as like a 1-bed or rooms, that kind of thing. So when you've got a few 5-beds in your portfolio, let's say they sleep 10, 12 people, you're in a league of your own. So I've got, for example, I've got a 5-bed property in Leighton. The rent I pay to the landlord is £2,500 a month. That regularly grosses 7-8 grand a month, and after all my bills, you can do the maths. It's good profit. And
with those properties, do you feel like you have to build them up, or how quickly do you get to a point where you can be hitting those revenue figures of 7-8K a month? Because one thing I like to do in these podcasts is you touched on it. There's a lot of sound bites, a lot of clickbait stuff on the internet. 100%. It's like, you do this and you'll be this overnight.
I think there's a difference. Like, for example, people think of service accommodation, right, and they just think it's Airbnb. It's not just Airbnb. Airbnb is probably 10% of my business. The rest is relationships. So, for example, I'll tell you about the property in Leighton. Somebody that works with the council that house families, that they need to house 30 families a week, they contacted us directly through Airbnb. They're basically paying us a nightly rate indefinitely in that property. So that's why the income is secured. How long did it take us to build that? I don't know. You go on my Airbnb profile, we've got 300 plus reviews. Maybe they trusted the company, maybe not. You know, I can't answer the question if a newbie could do what we do, but I would say that at least a year, 2 years to start building up consistent revenue on big properties. And I never advise people who are starting out to go on a big property, because obviously to us, £2,500 a month is not a lot of money. But to someone starting out, and when we did start out, that was a lot of money to pay. So you don't want to take on something that you can't service monthly, because reputation in this industry is very, very important.
What's your favorite property you've got at the moment on the books?
I'd say that one, to be honest.
That one,
yeah,
that
that's
one.
my favorite. Yeah, because it's no headache. I don't hear anything about
I guess,
it.
yeah, because so you're effectively doing emergency accommodation.
Well, we're essentially, they're doing emergency accommodation, but with our property, yeah.
Okay. And I think that's it. If you can sometimes take out, like you've took out almost the middleman with the Airbnb.
Correct.
And you're going direct to the source. And it sounds great to be able to post sometimes, this is my Airbnb revenue or booking.com. But the reality is the suite revenue is the one that is less stress and maybe is less flashy, but allows you to focus on other things.
100%.
In terms of properties within your portfolio, what's your where are you at now? How many properties do you have under management?
We've got 108 under management, but we're setting up 5 at the moment. So we're going to be at 113.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So you're in triple digits.
Yeah, we're in triple digits, yeah.
What does that look like in terms of management and oversight and systems?
Systems is massive. So we've got 2 full-time VAs.
Whereabouts are they based?
Philippines.
Nice. How did you find the process of finding them, training, etc.?
I didn't like it, to be honest. It was challenging. It was annoying, because a lot of them, I could just feel that when they were applying, I just thought, you just want work. You're not bought into this business. You don't actually care. So we had to go through about 20 before we found 2 that we can actually trust. But overall, it's good, because obviously for the value that they bring to the business, they more than probably 3, 4, 5 times pay for themselves.
Amazing. So using VAs, you definitely recommend that.
100%.
Other staff within the business or partners that you work alongside? Yeah,
so I've got business partners that I work with, but we've got 3 cleaners. One who's basically full-time. She's basically like
in-house.
Yeah, she's basically, we pay her between £2,000 and £3,000 a month, and she's basically like full-time for us now. She still does other things, but she's part of the family now. We've got handymen that we work with ad hoc, no full-time handymen, but operationally, the VAs look after most of the stuff. We've got software. We're testing a new software called Landlord, which we're moving on to some of our other properties.
Cool. Yeah, I use Landlord.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so you know about that one.
So I use Landlord. They actually, funnily enough, Landlord sponsor some of the Landlord are a sponsor for like some of the videos. They're good.
Okay, cool. So shout out Landlord. So
yeah, big up Landlord. I think even I'm gonna make sure actually. I think we've got to get obviously there's a free version which works really well.
Yeah.
But then I think we've got a discount code for myself. I'll make sure I put that in the description of this video. Got an editor in the background today. That's why I'm looking over there. So he's gonna make sure he does that. No, shout out Landlord in terms of everything.
Yeah.
They're very full circle. And even when I sat down with them and they were explaining to me how much they charge, I said, "You're not sure? This is very cheap."
Yeah, you know what? I actually think I paid it up front. Yeah. But I thought that was monthly. But when I realized it
was up front, I said, this is, and in terms of like, for me, I use them on the other side. I use them for portfolio management in terms of just rents and certificates. You know,
that's what we're trying to migrate to as well. Because obviously, you can imagine with 100 properties, obviously some landlords are on the ball, but some are not. So obviously, I'm not going to mentally remember when every gas safe is due or when an EICR runs out, etc. So,
and we need that. When you get to scale, you can't. Like, you need to free up mental capacity to focus on the things that you do best, whether that's building relationships, new business,
100%
stock acquisition. But I think so. Okay, so leaning towards using landlord, do you use any other systems in terms of
Uplisting.
Uplisting.
I use that for the Airbnb stuff.
And for people not familiar, what does uplisting do?
Uplisting is a channel manager. So essentially it looks after payment processing, calendar management, prevents double bookings. It can automate guest messaging as well. So you don't have to be messaging guests, checking information. Basically full circle, short-term rental software.
That's good. I think systemization when it comes to any business is where you can help to avoid those bottlenecks.
Yeah.
So just the little things of whether it be access and automated messages that go out that just mean that if for whatever reason somebody's missed a contact point, that you've got that stopgap to make sure that a level of customer service is provided to all guests.
100%. And I think even the next level from that is having staff that are empowered. So if something does go wrong, they can handle it without contacting me. And that's what, that's where I'm moving from more of like someone that's like an owner of a business rather than an operator within the business, which is where I'm trying to migrate to at the moment.
Trying to pivot to.
Yeah.
So as the owner of the business, there's currently over 110 properties. What's your kind of goal in terms of numbers?
I like to set big goals, right? So I've said I want to get to 1,000 units, but it's not to get to 1,000 units for like any monetary gain or anything like that. Like right now, business is comfortable.
So I heard somebody ask you what car you drove today, whether or not you came in a Range or a Urus. So when those are questions that people are asking, I think business is doing all right.
Yeah, listen, business is doing all right, and obviously, yeah, I like cars, so yeah, I'm happy to spend money on cars
and Dior,
and
because you like to wear me out, so I just
a little bit here and there because I was coming to see you. I thought let me put it on.
We appreciate you, brother. We appreciate you. Just to impress always.
Yeah.
But okay, so 1,000 units.
Yeah.
Amazing milestone.
Yeah.
3 figures, seen there, done it. You're saying you want to take that to 4 figures.
Correct. Yeah.
What do you think? Because I think for a lot of people, the business life cycle is like, the life of an entrepreneur is like this and backwards, 2 steps forwards, 3 steps back sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think to really take a business to a stage where you feel like a titan of industry, it takes a certain level of commitment. Correct. What do you think it is that you have in you that gives you the confidence that you can deliver a business that's going to be turning over that level?
I just think that for me, like, I just feel like I'm destined for greatness. I've got strong faith. I believe in God. He's never let me down. I just believe that, it's impossible to outwork me. I'm this kind of person that once I lock in on a goal, nothing can stop that goal. And I just believe everything is achievable. If there's people with, like, there are people with 1,000 units, 10,000 units. Why can't I have 1,000 units?
Definitely. And in terms of, obviously, you were based in Dubai, came back to the UK.
Yeah.
Is it going to be UK focused when you say 1,000 units, or are you going to look to diversify?
No, I've got I've got family in Canada. So we've got some land in Canada as well. So I want to do something there. Obviously, I've got connections to Dubai as well, so I want to do something there. But what I don't like about Dubai is it's a large outlay to get properties. Usually, they want one check if you want the best deal.
Yeah.
Furniture is expensive. There's a very, like, in summer, the rates are quite low in Dubai as well. So when I analyze how I perform in the UK versus Dubai, it's not that great. So I'm looking at different markets in Dubai, for example, like townhouses in certain areas that aren't. Like, obviously, everyone knows Marina, the Palm downtown. That's where everyone goes. But I'm looking at areas like JVC, Sports City, other areas where if I can do the right deal, then I'll pull the trigger. But
yeah, and I think that is definitely it. Like, once you've got your first deal over the line, I think quality is more important over quantity. And 100%. It's great to have those metrics. I want 1,000 units. But in a lot of instances, I'm sure, I was of the opinion when I was in, the rent-to-rent space that I'd rather maybe 50 great units than 100 okay ones.
Listen, you're spot on. If I wanted to, I could have 1,000 units right now. But we turn away more units than we take because exactly that. I'd rather have 100 units that are performing well than 1,000 units just to say, oh, I've got 1,000 units. But okay, great. You might have 10, 20, 30 million revenue, but you might spend 29 of that. So what's the point?
Yeah, it's a vanity metric, effectively.
100%.
So it's quite difficult to get you on this podcast, Dami. No, it was. Don't, is it me?
Are you sure?
Is it me? I sent him some messages before.
Yeah.
Kind of just fobbed me off on he said I'm a Louis Vuitton wearing, Christian Dior having, Urus driving, multi, But we got you here in the end.
We did.
which I'm very happy about. But you're not, although you're on social media, you kind of dabble in and out. How do you feel about the whole social media space?
I just feel like, to be honest, social media, there's a lot of noise, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of nonsense online. You know, people that might have 1 or 2 units, people that have never seen any money in their life would form a sort of persona on social media. My focus was always to build it in real life so that, you know, I don't have to rely on selling training courses to pay my bills or any of that stuff that some people do online. Not everyone.
So question,
some people.
Before, because, you know, training in terms of purposes as a purpose at a certain point.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think you've always got to look at the quality and experience of the person delivering said training.
Correct.
How long in the industry or how many units or what metric do you think you would put on to say you should have done this before you start educating?
Again, it's a brilliant question. I would say that, look, it depends on the person that's doing the training. If you've got even 2 units, you could probably guide somebody who's a beginner. But if you've got, let's say, 2 units and you're trying to talk to someone that's got, you know, a lot of experience in business and they've got 20 units and you're trying to guide them, but you've not even been through the pitfalls or you've not even survived a recession or survived COVID or gone through these things, then I think it's not legitimate, because how can you teach someone based off experiences you haven't had? So for me, it's like, look, you might be able to give someone a nugget somewhere, but I would say always look at the trainer. What have they actually achieved? Because obviously, as we know, training, if you get it right and you market right, can be good money. But at the same time, if you get a business right, training doesn't even compare to what you can make in a business.
I think that's it. Like, you know, looking at why they're training, what they've done, what their track record is, like anything. You know, when we talk about your power team and build it, like property builders is one area people say, how do you find a good builder? And realistically, you go off personal recommendations, you go off doing your due diligence, you go off seeing people they've worked with or alongside in the past. And I think a lot of that can be said for looking at a mentor or an educator. Actually do your due diligence to, has this person done what they're saying they're doing? And do you think you're going to be able to get along with them for a longer period of time?
100%.
That's good. And so I guess obviously you've been heavily involved in, you know, the rent to rent space. How do you feel about, you know, obviously you have also bought property. What's your attitudes towards actually buying property and using them for Airbnbs?
I think it's a great strategy. Obviously, you have to deploy a lot more capital to buy. Interest rates are high, but I see buying property as more of a long-term thing. So if I see a good deal, I'll buy a property. But I'm not too concerned about buying properties and trying to build a massive portfolio of owned properties. Obviously, yeah, we bought a few, but for me, it's about timing. You know, I'm in this for the long haul. So, I mean, even right now, we've got 2 lease options which are pending. So it's not like we're not buying, but I can't say I'm aggressively buying or that I'm aggressively interested in buying.
Are there any areas in property that you would want to get into, whether it, you know, so different types of strategies outside of, you know, the serviced accommodation space?
Not really, to be honest.
Not really. Is that fruitful? You're enjoying over there?
Yeah, I'm just enjoying. And obviously, like, I see what you do with the flipping and you do a good job of it, but that's not happened overnight. You know, you've had years of experience, you've got contacts, you've got connections, and it's like, you don't need to jump into different things. If something's going well, stay on it. Like, I've looked at food businesses, I've looked at chauffeuring businesses. Obviously, you know, I like cars, but when I look at the numbers, when I look at the viability of the business and I really stress test it, I'm happy to just keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think, like, it's a weird thing because diversification is great, but specialization is also great.
Yeah.
And I know we had a conversation. Oh, by the way, thank you. Or just, you know, I said, oh, let's go and get some food. I can't remember where we went. I think we went Hakkasan.
Yeah, Hakkasan. Yeah, it was Hakkasan.
It's just how he lives life, man. It's okay. Yeah, it's just how you're living. But yeah, you were saying, oh, why are you not doing more Airbnb?
Yeah.
And it's very much so, like, I think the question is, oh, why are you not buying more and investing more? It's sometimes, as much as you could do things, it's not always could you do it. Sometimes you just replace the C, like, you know, and it's should you do it, like, correct, with an SH, because you could do anything.
Yeah.
I could decide that I want to try my hand at boxing. Should I do it? Is very, very debatable. Like, is that going to be where my efforts are best placed? I think a lot of people, not just because of social media, but because of the space in which we live, where everything is very quick and microwave consumable, have that shiny penny syndrome of wanting to jump between different areas. I think if you can specialize, I would much rather operate in a space where I specialize in what I do, become known, respected in that space, build relationships with other people that are respected in their space. And then if anything, I would diversify by saying, you know what? Oh, you've got these, these lease options. Can I get involved with those? Because I've got these flips. So you could bring funds over here and vice versa. And I think that's a really good way of operating and diversifying, but still being the best at what you currently do.
I completely agree with that. And for example, like if a flip opportunity came to me, I'll send you a message and say, look, bro, what do you think of this? You've done flips. So it's like leveraging your expertise rather than why am I going to waste years trying to learn something else when I'm already making money doing what I'm doing?
Exactly that. Like somebody gave me an opportunity. Oh, I've got this care home. It's X amount of rooms. And I was just, of course, I said, bro, this is what I've been offered. Like run the numbers on it. If it makes sense, like I'm happy to put the money in.
Yeah.
But I need a partner on it because I 100%. Can't deliver that to the level that you could. So I'd rather have, 50% of something sizable than 100% of something that is going to take a lot of time and potentially not be financially viable if I do it alone.
100%.
What would you say you've enjoyed buying most with your profits from the business? What's been your purchase that you said, that one sweeted me?
You know what? Probably the 911 when I bought that, because I've wanted a car for years. It was on the mental vision board. And when I just slapped the money down and got the car and drove off, I remember that I went to meet my friend who lives in Essex. We were driving through Essex with the top down. And I kind of felt like I'd made it. And obviously, like, far from made it, but it was just one of those moments where you have to take it in. Like, I really wanted the car and I got the car. So that was probably, I enjoyed that the most.
I think, like, sometimes we're almost made to feel bad for celebrating success.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's a very Black thing sometimes. That, like, success and money are almost seen as,
I think it's a UK thing as well.
Yeah, in terms of connections. But even within communities, it's like, to get that money, you've taken it out of somebody else's pocket. But the reality is that if you have that abundant mindset that, money is infinite and it's just a case of you making it gravitate towards you, I feel like you have to celebrate the wins because of all of the trials and tribulations you go through as an entrepreneur. 100%. You deserve it. So I'm glad that you got to have that top-down moment, hair in the wind, enjoying. So that's good to hear. And funnily enough, I think with a Porsche, the Porsche owners is like a club. You get the, like for a lot of people, that you get the black nod. If you was in Tenerife, you see another black man like, you see someone get out of a Porsche, they look at you and say,
people. No one's gonna say anything bad about a Porsche. It's classy, it's understated to a point, and it's just an all-round driver's car.
You're a car man. What's your dream car?
The Urus was a dream. Obviously, I ticked that off. Like hypercars, like Bugattis and stuff, I'm not really interested. Like where I live, it's not really feasible. But now I'm sort of getting in. I get driven a lot now during the week. I'd like to probably add a Cullinan at some point and get driven by that. But obviously, still give it some time.
It's a nice piece of kit.
Yeah.
I saw one of the guys you mentor, Poku. Got Poku. We've had him on before.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what I'm gonna say, don't you?
I know what's coming.
And you've said in the past,
yeah,
and I quote, if your business is making £50,000 a month, you can't afford a Urus.
I said I wouldn't get a Urus.
You wouldn't get a Urus.
Yeah,
you wouldn't advise.
It's correct,
You wouldn't advise getting a Urus if you, I think the thing that may have irked some people is only make 50k a month.
Yeah.
Do you still stand by that?
Look, I appreciate that 50k to most people is a lot of money. But, if you're surrounded by people that are making sort of like £1 million a week, or you see the sort of money that's out there, mentally, I don't feel like 50k a month is a huge amount of money. It's just where I'm at the moment. But what I would say, and to contextualize what I said there, is that if you own a Urus, it's not going to be the only car you drive. You might have 3 or 4 cars. So let's add up car finance, if you finance them, insurance, petrol, all of these things, your house costs, if you want to put your kids in private school, if you want a nice budget to go on holiday, buy expensive clothes, do all these things. I would say that there's other nice cars before going into Lamborghini ownership. That's how I'd answer that question.
That's fair. And I think with most things, like, a lot of stuff can be taken out of context when you see a 10-second clip
snippet
of
on TikTok or something like that. Yeah.
But the reality is everything's going to be situation led.
Yeah.
somebody who's a single person on 100K is a completely different scenario to somebody who's got maybe 3 children with 3 different women on 100K in a completely different scenario. So I think what I would say is, as much as I may say things, Dami says things, you've got to always look at personal circumstance and is it viable for you?
Correct.
And just do the numbers.
Yeah.
Like you can't make the numbers work for you. They're going to tell you what you should do.
And I'll say as well, there's a difference between having something and affording it. You know, anyone can get, who's got good credit can go and get approved for anything. But if you're feeling that monthly payment, you can't afford it.
Yeah, it's that old adage of, you know, if you can't buy it 3 times,
You can't afford it.
you probably shouldn't have purchased it.
Yeah.
So obviously you're looking at diversifying into other areas. I was actually going to ask you a question because recently I went to Thailand.
Yeah.
You know, when you go on holiday, you have an amazing time.
Yeah.
Like you go away and you're like, this is it. This is so much fun. But the business side of me, so I got chatting to the Airbnb owners and they were explaining some of the models. Do you think you would ever like invest in, so outside obviously you've spoken about Canada, America, Dubai, but would you ever invest in like the emerging markets when it comes to the Airbnb space?
Yeah, we had this conversation and the answer is I need to do more due diligence because in the past I've thrown money at things quickly and I've lost money.
Yeah.
So now I'm more mature with my investments. I'm in a position where I don't need to take huge risks. I just want to make the risks that like will pay off, calculated risks. So I'd rather, let's say for example, Thailand, I'll see someone who's like, let's say they got 50 units plus. I'd want to know how they've been performing, what are the returns, go around and see, you know, high season, low season, and then look to make an investment. Just because obviously I go on holiday, I'm gassed at the time.
That's me. I was in Thailand. I said, I was on the phone to the Airbnb and I said, that lands, is it still there? You know, but you're right. You have to kind of take yourself out of the emotional side of that looks amazing. But I feel like there's something about the idea of being able to just say, you know what, I've got a house in Nigeria, Colombia, you know, Thailand, maybe Indonesia, and then maybe some other places as well. But just, I think from an investment perspective, that also ticks the lifestyle box.
Yeah.
Because at a certain point, like you mentioned, you're doing the business for longevity,
Correct.
for things outside of, I just want to add more to my bottom line.
Yeah.
And I think that transition into those other areas is a way to achieve that.
Yeah, look, I completely agree. And obviously, if you can fit lifestyle into your business, it's a good place to be. And then sometimes you have to make the decision, look, am I buying this or am I doing this for investment? Or am I doing it because I might go to Thailand 4 times a year? Am I doing it because I want my friends to enjoy it as well?
How do you balance your work-life balance?
There's no balance, to be honest. I just merge everything into one.
Okay.
Yeah. There's no balance. I think that work-life balance, it's a myth because if you don't enjoy your work, firstly, I don't think you should be doing it. But if you need the balance, like I'd ask you the question, why do you need the balance?
Sanity sometimes.
Yeah. But if you enjoy the work.
Yeah. No, I get it. I guess it's, for me personally, and my answer to that, like Dami's just taken over, by the way. So, but for me personally, I think it's to avoid suffering from burnout to the point that as much as I may enjoy something, you get to a point where it's almost like gluttonous. Like you enjoy the work, you love the work, but you're living in it so much that you can't actually take yourself out of the work to, whether it's enjoy the fruits of your labor, whether it's focus on other areas of your life that you enjoy as well. So I guess that is where sometimes.
Okay. And I think what I'll say to that is why I have the balance then is because, for example, I'll go and buy a supercar or I'll go and spend money on certain things because certain people, like I know people that are worth £100 million, but if you meet them, you wouldn't know it because they don't spend money on themselves. They don't enjoy, they don't take a holiday. For me, that's someone that doesn't have balance. But if we're making money, we should be able to enjoy the fruits of our labor. So I think that as long as you're enjoying the fruits of your labor along the way, you won't get burnt out.
Yeah. No, that's very interesting. So you would say that's what keeps you motivated?
Yeah, 100%.
Enjoying the fruits of your labor.
I like to enjoy life. You know, I don't like to look at, oh, how can I save money? I always my mindset is, I'll just make more. Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot easier to make money than it is to save
100%
money.
Yeah.
And it sounds, I don't want that to sound patronizing to anybody to say it's easy to make money, because it does take hard work. But out of the two, one is going to increase a lot more exponentially. Like if you invest in yourself and invest in a business, than trying to save effectively.
Yeah.
So I guess, like, you know, with somebody that's very motivated, someone that's been very successful, transitioning out of the 9 to 5, which as much as you maybe feel like you're surrounded by entrepreneurs, you're still you're the minority versus the 9 to 5 people.
Yeah.
What's the reaction of like your friends, family been like to your success?
I think they expected it, to be honest. I don't think anyone's really surprised. Most of my friends are high performing. Like all people that are close to me, they're all multimillionaires. So I remember, in fact, when I went to see my friend in America, he told me that I'm underachieving. I need to do more. Obviously, it's banter we have between each other, but, you know, I like to keep people around me that are high achievers. So yeah, it's nothing new. Obviously, people that, if I feel any like sort of reaction to certain people, I just cut them off, to be honest. I don't really block them and delete.
Would you, I feel like some people might, I guess not negativity, but surely you must have people around you that are not obviously as successful. How do you manage those relationships then?
I feel like, obviously, look, I started my business from scratch. You know, no one gave me a penny towards my business. I went out there and made it happen. So there's nothing different from me and them. So, you know, where they are in their life is their choice. And it's something we don't discuss, you know. It's just something that I'm not the sort of person, I won't rub success in someone's face, you know. If, for example, I have friends that aren't making very much money, I'm not going to talk to them about money. We'll connect on the other levels. If I have friends that are purely money men, then we'll talk about that. Yeah.
That's fair enough. Well, that's been a really good conversation. Before I let you leave, see, the whole purpose of the conversations is to help inspire and uplift. What words of wisdom would you give to somebody that wants to get into your space but hasn't yet taken any action?
I'll just say a mindset of abundance and belief. There's absolutely nothing on earth that you can't achieve. Literally, it's all out there. Money is so abundant, it's ridiculous. Like, there's just so much money out there, it hurts. Like, I remember even I was at a 60-year Lamborghini anniversary, and they released a new Revuelto. I can't remember how many spaces they were, but they were fully oversubscribed. This is like a 500-600 grand car, and people are like fighting over allocations. So, you know, it's just a gentle reminder that money is everywhere. Even, for example, I recently put myself down, my friend put me down on the allocation for a new luxury watch. Can't buy it. There's more people that want to buy the watch than the watch is available. So there's so much money out there. It's just like, don't let what your parents earned or what your friends have earned or what society has told you can earn hold you down, because you can earn anything that you want. So it's just about, I'd say it's a mindset thing. Work on your mindset. It's the most powerful thing you can invest in.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you joining us today. For those that are not familiar with you, how can they connect with you if people want to get in touch?
Dami Property on TikTok, Dami Property Lifestyle on Instagram. Those are the best places. And I'll probably I go back and forth with starting a YouTube, but once I get a good videographer that can edit and do all that, I might start playing.
I've got the dream team for you, man. I look you and I made a connect. So we'll make that happen. Yeah, my social teams are absolutely killing it at the moment. So more than happy to connect, because we want to see everybody shine, everybody win. We want to see people that are really doing it be able to showcase their journeys to hopefully inspire more people.
100%.
That has been another episode of the PBK podcast. If you haven't already, obviously, Dami's about to come with his YouTube. So before he takes all the subscribers, make sure you subscribe here. As always, if you want to learn more about myself or the PBK community, link will be in the bio to join the mailing list. We're going to catch you next week when we're going to have another amazing guest. So see you all real soon.